Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Beware the Board, a horror podcast where we watch a randomly selected horror movie every single week. I'm Bob.
I'm Ben.
Hey, Ben.
What's up?
I don't know. What's up with you?
I'm a little tired, but, no more than usual.
I was about to say, so nothing new.
At this point, I've been up for five hours?
That's not bad at all.
Got some donuts. So,
yes.
it's
Donuts
going
are good.
okay so far.
Okay. Well, I have a couple of things I want to talk about before we get to the podcast part of the podcast. I found something cool yesterday.
Oh, what'd you find?
So I was telling you that
Went to a peddler's mall, right?
Yeah, me and my girlfriend went to a bunch of thrift stores, went to some peddlers malls. Not really looking for anything, but just kind of shopping, basically. Just like a way to spend the day together and hang out and stuff.
Fair enough.
And we were walking through this, and do not know how many movies I saw out there. People sell DVDs and stuff at peddlers malls for dirt cheap.
Yeah, I mean, they are DVDs.
Yeah.
And not to talk shit, but they only go up to 480p,
Mm-hmm.
which is...
But there are also tons
atrocious.
of Blu-rays and stuff, too.
But Blu-rays are going pretty cheap nowadays.
Yeah, and there were a lot of people selling a lot of different versions of different Blu-rays. But I found so fucking cool. I found such a sweet Blu-ray. It's George Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then also 5 other films. All in one thing. It's a movie called The Bat, The Devil Bat,
Okay.
House on Haunted Hill, Night of the Living Dead, and there was one more.
They're all black and white.
They're all
stuff,
black and white, and White Zombie. All on Blu-ray for $5.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So cool. I haven't watched any of them yet, but I'm really excited to watch them.
Honestly, if you want cheap Blu-rays that are new, you know what's a great place to go to?
Where?
Walmart.
Really?
Yeah, they have their dilapidated
the
physical
bin?
media section. No, not just a bin. They have an actual wall of Blu-ray stuff, and it's usually fairly cheap. And they have new stuff on there too. But it's $15 Blu-rays and stuff.
Yeah. But I did not know that this Blu-ray had been released or existed, but just finding it randomly in a peddler's mall was so cool.
Well, probably most of those are in public domain.
Oh, well, I know Night is for sure.
Because Night is, and the other stuff are just really old, so maybe the rights were super cheap.
Yeah, but I just thought it was a neat little find.
No, it's cool. An odd collection, but cool.
Well, I mostly bought it because I really like House on Haunted Hill
And Night of the Living Dead.
And I want to watch White Zombie. And then the other 2 movies are Vincent Price movies, so I'll watch them.
We could maybe do White Zombie for...
I believe it's Zombies twice, and we've yet to watch that.
Okay, because it's not really a horror movie.
But it's the zombie movie, you know?
The original one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe, though, it's, I want to say, is that the RKO one, or is that the I Walked with a Zombie? I think it's
We've
I Walked
had this
with a
discussion
Zombie
before, and I don't
is
remember.
the RKO one. So, I don't know. I was going to say, if you did RKO, we could go on RKO, but that's not.
That's
the
a cool category
RKO
idea.
one. Yeah.
Doing old RKO stuff.
I like them.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the horror movie adjacent stuff they do.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to talk about before I get to the actual news portion of the podcast?
No.
Okay.
I find stuff and then I forget it because I never write it down.
Fair
I'm
enough.
Bob's probably going to find the same stuff.
Oh, I probably will find the same stuff. We probably go to the same places. It's just how it is. Okay. We recently talked about, Forbidden Planet, because we watched Gremlins and there's a scene with Robbie the Robot
Yeah.
at the convention. Warner Brothers is making a remake of that film.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah. Brian K. Vaughan from Why the Last Man is writing the screenplay with Emma Watts producing. But that's it. I was just looking at this article because I was reading from the top of it. That's all the information we have so far.
Yeah, I'm sure it's in early production.
Yeah. No, there's nothing else on here.
Forbidden Planet's good. It's one of the Rocky Horror movies.
Yeah,
You
it
don't
is.
know.
I hadn't even thought about that.
There's a list of films associated with the intro song. If you don't know, it's a science fiction double feature,
Mhm.
I believe.
Yeah.
And they list a bunch of movie references in it. Forbidden Planet is one of them. King Kong's another one.
Mhm.
There's a bunch.
I was going to say Flash Gordon.
Don't think so.
Is it not Flash Gordon? What is it? I'm singing the song in my head. What are they singing about?
There's a bunch of them.
There are a bunch of them. It's not.
It's
important.
11 or 12 movies.
Yeah, there's a shit ton. But I think that's all I really have for
Oh,
news
they
today.
do Flash Gordon.
I thought it was Flash Gordon because this thing about something silver underwear
Yeah,
is the line.
I guess
and
that's fair.
It's about Flash Gordon, right?
That could have been a lot of things, though.
fair. Could have been about Dune.
Yeah, it's Michael Rennie, The Day the Earth Stood Still, Flash Gordon, Claude Rains, Invisible Man, Fay Ray, King Kong, Came from Outer Space, Dr. X, Anne Francis, Forbidden Planet, Leo G. Carroll, Tarantula, Janet Scott, The Day of the Triffids, Donna Andrews, Night of the Demon, When Worlds Collide, George Paul, and then RKO Pictures. All the things it references.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those are movies.
Some of those are actors.
Some of them are actors in said movies.
Yep. Like the Claude Rains and The Invisible Man.
Yep.
Good movie. Okay. Time for the podcast part of the podcast?
I guess if you don't have any more news.
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. We're down to the final two. It's the penultimate episode of season 11.
Well, that's not true.
Well, penultimate movie episode.
Okay, there we go. There.
I never count the last episode because it's kind of more the, okay, we're going to take a break for a week so I can prep. And
Yeah, but it's still an episode of the podcast.
look behind the curtain. We recorded the same day
Yeah,
as episode 9 of each season. So it's a little bit weird. But
it is.
penultimate movie episode. We're only down to Tiny Creatures and True Crime. What are you picking?
Tiny creatures.
Yeah.
I'm saving True Crime for the last spot.
You said that last week.
I know, and it's.
Sometimes you change your mind, but I figured you were pretty.
I just look. Ghoulies was so bad
Yes.
that I can't end the season on a movie of that caliber.
We've had a spectrum of Tiny Creature movies.
Yeah. Yes, we have.
Gremlins to Ghoulies.
To whatever the hell this is about to be.
I think it's in the middle between those two.
We'll see. I'm excited though.
It can't go lower than Ghoulies.
It definitely can.
Well, it can, but I wouldn't do that
You say that now.
right now.
Okay, there it is. Right now. Later,
Ghoulies is
Probably.
too famous to not go on the list, even though you'd never heard of it.
Ghoulies is bad enough that it shouldn't have been on the list.
But it was bad enough that it probably shouldn't have been on the list. I really went back and forth for what I should put there,
That's
if
good.
I'm going to be honest. Anyways, last Tiny Creature spot. You ready?
Oh God. Yeah.
Today, we are watching a film from 1986.
1986. Okay.
It's that same kind of year stuff because that's what was popular then. But we're watching a little film known as Critters.
I forgot about Critters until just now.
I know, I could tell because you were worried, and we hadn't covered Critters yet. It was very obvious.
Oh, what is? I've seen a critter
Yeah,
or two in my life.
they had a bunch of critters at the
They
convention.
had a bunch of critters at the convention.
right next to the Ghoulies because most boats had both.
Yeah. Okay. I've heard mixed things about this movie.
So Ghoulies is one of those franchises that you're either really gonna love or you're gonna think's like cheesy and bad. Knowing you, I'm guessing you're really gonna like it.
We will see.
Like, I would bet money on it. Let me put it this way: a lot of people who really like Tremors also really like Critters.
I do really like Tremors. When are we going to watch Tremors for the podcast?
Did we do Creature Feature yet? I don't
Kind
think
of.
so.
Not really, though.
We did your weird one.
Yeah.
So maybe on Creature Feature.
Okay.
It depends. I love Tremors.
I know you do,
It's
and
a
I
great
know I like it.
franchise.
That's why I was like, when are we doing that one?
Well, we'll figure it out. Description: hairy balls.
Not the hairy balls. Oh my God.
Length: it is an hour and 26 minutes long. It's rated PG-13,
That's disgusting.
which is Bob's most horrifying rating, as we all know,
Why is it PG-13?
because it came out after Gremlins, Bob.
It should be rated R.
Probably should have been rated
Critter.
PG.
Oh.
Critter does not start with an R, Bob.
Never, I didn't say that. You implied that from what I said.
You said for Critter.
Yeah, there's an R in Critters at the
Mhm.
end.
You just forgot how to spell for a second.
No, bro.
It's okay. It happens to you a lot.
Did I say Ritters? No.
Review score: IMDb gave it a 6.1 out of 10.
That's pretty good.
Tomato meter gave it a 52%. And an
We're-
audience score of 45%.
We're looking up, dog.
We're kind of going across the board. For awards, it has 0 wins and 3 nominations. Notable actors, we have Dee Wallace as Helen Brown. You might remember her from the convention.
Mm-hmm.
She had a big critter on her booth. That's probably why you remember the critters.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think at the convention you went, when are we going to do critters?
I probably did. I talk about this a lot.
She's done a lot of stuff. She's like the main character in Cujo. But the
That's
way
what I knew.
I think
from.
you'd know her, and most people who were children at some point in their life, so most of us, she was
100% of us.
Mary in E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
I've never seen E.T.
I said most of us were children.
I
You are
was
the
a child at
exception.
some point, but not an E.T. child.
Emmett Walsh as Harv. He played Bryant in Blade Runner. Billy Green Bush as Jay Brown. He was Trooper Donner in The Hitcher, as well as Sheriff Landis in Jason Goes to Hell, Bob's favorite Friday the 13th movie.
That might be the second one from the bottom of my list. It's 8 and then 9, I think, from the bottom.
Yeah, your favorite.
Disgusting.
Nadine Van der Velde as April Brown. She played Cindy in Munchies. Don Keith Opper as Charlie McFadden. He was Deputy Ben in Infection.
Wow.
Lynn Shay as Sally. She was Elise Rayner in Insidious. She's the old lady.
Oh, okay.
Billy Zane as Steve Elliott. He was the Phantom in The Phantom. He was also at the convention.
I was about to say, I remember him being there too.
Ethan Phillips as Jeff Barnes. He played Neelix from Star Trek Voyager. He was on 168 episodes between 1995 and 2001. Terrence Mann as Ugg. He was Whispers from Sense8. He was on 19 episodes between 2015 and 2018. Jeremy Lawrence as Reverend Miller. He was Dr. Mitchell Waddy from The Good Fight on one episode in 2022. Corey Burton as the voices of Krites. So he voices the creatures.
Oh,
Critters.
Krites?
They're called Krites. That's their scientific name.
Oh my god.
But he's done some voice acting. He was Moliere in Atlantis, The Lost Empire. I don't know if you remember.
Is that the Disney movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you ever seen it?
Yes.
He's your spirit animal. He's the guy who just likes digging and looks like a mole.
Oh, that guy. Okay.
So, you know, your spirit animal.
Have you
And
ever
then-
seen me dig anywhere, ever?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sure. Okay, I'll give you that. I forgot.
And then we have the most special actor in this entire film. The one that I think is like my go-to fun fact about the Critters franchise. We have Scott Grimes as Brad Brown. Do you know who Scott Grimes is?
Off the top of my head, no.
So I think he's most famous nowadays as a voice actor.
Okay.
He has done some like live action stuff. He also did music for a while. But the way I think most people are going to know him is he's Steve Smith from American Dad
Oh my god.
on 368 episodes between 2005 and 2024.
I watched so much of that show when I was far too young to be watching that show. This is going to be a fucking fever dream. Because I
Yeah.
hope he just sounds like Steve.
Oh, he does. And he's like Steve's age.
Oh my god.
Actually, he might be a bit younger
That's
in this
awesome.
movie because this is his like film debut,
That's awesome.
which is kind of cool. But yeah, you can definitely hear it a little bit. Now, the director's Stephen Herrick. This is actually his directorial debut, which is
Oh.
kind of cool.
nice.
Are you familiar with him?
I don't know the name off the top of my head.
So, from what I could find, he hasn't done like a ton of insanely famous stuff, but he did do Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Writer is Stephen Herrick, so same as the director. He hasn't written anything else, but he has a screenplay credit on this. And then the other writer is Dominic Murr, who has a screenplay and story credit. He also wrote Evil Bong.
Oh.
And then Don Keith Opper, who has a credit for additional scenes, and he also helped write Supernova.
I haven't heard of that one.
That's fair. Budget's estimated at $2 million, which is not a lot, especially when we compare it to something like Gremlins,
Mhm.
of course, and a box office of a pretty decent $13.1 million. So,
Hell yeah, dude.
pretty great for like a smaller film. Country of origin is United States, and then the tagline, they eat so fast, you don't have time to scream.
That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
I don't hate that one. I expected it to be dumb and generic, but that was pretty solid.
Oftentimes you hate them.
Yes, because they often suck.
As for fun facts about this film, principal photography began in Valencia, California in July 1985 on a 6-week shooting schedule, which is decent amount of
I was
time.
about to say, that's a pretty long period right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's an 80s film. There were longer shoots than modern day stuff. I do think it's important to note when talking about Critters that it's one of those films in the same kind of realm as Ghoulies, where it's like debatable, like the order in which those ideas came about.
Okay.
So this film is often kind of quoted as a ripoff of Gremlins,
Yeah.
especially because it came out like 2 years afterwards. Gremlins was 1984. But I think it's kind of important to note that Mir, like the main screenplay writer, actually wrote the screenplay a lot longer before Gremlins was in production.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, they had to do like some pretty major rewrites on the script because it was too similar to Gremlins and they wanted to differentiate themselves.
Oh.
So kind of cool to see that like similar people were kind of coming up with similar ideas around the same time.
Now I'm curious what they changed and what like would have been the same if they had kept it.
Yeah.
Now this is gonna be cool.
Kind of my last fact before we get into the fact that, well, serious stuff. The critters in this movie were designed by the Kyoto brothers. Who, do you know their names?
Mm-mm.
So they're like special effects guys.
Oh, okay.
They're really cool if you ever listen to some interviews with them from like behind the scenes stuff. But they're actually known for making their own film. A very famous film among like horror fans, known as Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh shit!
That's a Kyoto brothers film. So same guys that do like all the effects on this movie and design the critters did that.
We need to do clowns at some point.
You don't like clowns.
I don't like clowns.
So it'll be fun.
Clowns are very, very scary.
And then obviously, last fact I said I was going to talk about franchise stuff. Obviously, this film made a decent amount of money for a $2 million budget. And so it was able to spawn a franchise. Currently, I believe it consists of 3 sequel movies, a web series titled Critters, a new binge, which was released on Shudder, and then a 5th entry that's a bit of like a reboot called Critters Attack. Came out fairly recently, I believe.
I actually didn't know that there were that many Critters films.
So 5, I believe?
Yeah, 4 sequels. Well,
3
4,
sequels,
yeah.
a movie. So with the original, that's 5.
5 movies in a
TV show. I heard the TV show's atrocious.
Really?
Like, horrible.
I was about to get excited about the new show, about the show. That sucks.
I've heard it's really bad.
Damn it.
From Critters fans.
Oh.
They did the classic, we're just not going to talk about it. Which is never a good sign.
No, it's not a good sign at all.
Unlike the Tremors TV show.
There's a Tremors TV show?
Yeah.
Is it good?
It's a Tremors TV show.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I get what you mean.
And I think it ran for what? I think like 12 episodes on Sci-Fi.
It's
so not very long. And, budget stuff was an issue. Because that's like an all-practical movie.
I was about to say, making Tremors is expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. They always do a decent job, though. Anyways, we're not here to talk about Tremors. We're here to watch Critters.
Watch Tremors.
We're watching Critters right now. So we're going to go do that, and we'll be back after we're done.
Yeah. We'll see you guys in a minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We just finished watching Critters.
How'd you like it?
I thought it was really fun.
Yeah, it's a fun little movie. I figured it'd be your thing.
Yeah, you're right. Per usual, I think. Well, I don't want to say per usual. Sometimes you're really wrong.
I'm pretty good at guessing it nowadays.
Yeah.
I'm not good at guessing what, like, pushes you over the edge until, like, I'm not having a good time.
True.
Those are 2 distinct things.
Yeah.
Good movie, good time are separate. With that being said, I guess we'll, do our usual spiel here. I'm going to give a brief description, and then we'll get into the actual movie. As always, we recommend you watch the film blind before, we get into any spoilers, because that's the best way to watch the film.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just going to open with this before we actually get to the description. I didn't know what this movie was about.
At all.
Like, I knew it was critters, and I'd seen what critters look like. If you don't know anything, and all you know is that it is a small creature feature, please go watch this movie.
It's a very
so
wild ride.
Insane. It is absolutely batshit bananas sometimes.
Because it is not Gremlins.
No.
At all.
No.
In either case, brief description here. Essentially, it's about this family. They live on a small farm in Kansas. And their farm gets invaded by these little hairy ball guys.
Yeah.
Called Krites.
Mm-hmm.
But, are also referred to as critters. And they like eating things.
They do like eating things. They
causing
enjoy that.
General mayhem.
It's like if the Gremlins had, like, the most ferocious appetite you'd ever seen.
Yeah. So I think it's really cool and worth a watch. That being said, we're going to get into it now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I think the obvious thing to start off with is, I think what you were kind of referring to earlier. But this is technically a sci-fi movie.
I wouldn't even say technically. It is a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
The plot of this film is so deeply rooted in like 80s sci-fi. Like you just can't get around it.
Like, to be honest, the first half parts of it feel like a knockoff Star Wars film.
It feels very Jason X in
because
a certain
it's
way.
like so sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume that's the kind of wild thing you were referring to.
Yeah, I didn't know this was a sci-fi movie at all.
yeah.
I assumed it was like Gremlins. Like we were just going to get some setup for like a small creature and then that would be the movie.
Yeah, because you normally assume these small creature films are either like animals
Yeah.
or like some weird magic thing like Mogwai or the Ghoulies.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they go full sci-fi in this one. The Krites are like an actual race of just very ferocious creatures.
Yeah.
And they're like assumedly intergalactic menaces.
They have to be.
And kind of the premise for this film is they escape a high security asteroid
Mm-hmm.
and hijack a ship and land in Kansas. It's basically a more adult version of how Lilo and Stitch starts,
A more adult version set in Kansas
set in Kansas.
rather than Hawaii.
But yeah, it's really interesting. There's also this tie-in to, there's these two like intergalactic bounty hunters
That are chasing the critters.
and they're shapeshifters.
It's cool.
It's wild. I'm just putting that out there because there's a bunch of weird sci-fi elements like interwoven into the fabric of this story. Not necessarily needed, but it is cool. I think it was a good choice to distinguish themselves from some of the other films out there.
I mean, that's what I was going to talk about was like, I get why someone who made Gremlins would go, oh, this is a Gremlins knockoff. It is distinctly different, in my opinion. Like, a lot of the same ideas are there, but the fact that it is so deeply a sci-fi film makes it unique and makes it well worth a watch if you're like, I've seen Gremlins, I don't want to watch Critters. No, watch it, please.
Yeah, the sci-fi thing alone, I think, really does sell it
It's
for me.
so worth it.
The other thing that I think is really interesting about this film is the creature design.
Oh, the critters look really good.
The critters are great, and not just from like an effects standpoint.
Mhm.
We'll get into that in a second, but Kyoto Brothers do a great job. But like, I think they're a really cool design.
They are a cool design.
Both Gremlins and Ghoulies, which I'm going to use as our comparison point here because those are the other films we watched this season, feature creatures that are very like, I don't want to say reptilian, but they have very like scaly or slimy flesh.
Well, because that's scary, right?
So it is scary, but it's because it's cheaper because you could use like silicone and stuff.
Oh, that makes more sense
And-
too. Yeah.
The Krites are really interesting because, from my description, they're just like kind of vaguely ball-shaped guys, but they're covered in hair.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of an insane thing to do with a creature like this
Mm-hmm.
because it's unexpected, first of all. I think no one imagines little Chewbacca's.
Little Ewoks, basically.
Little Ewoks, yeah. Just as voracious.
Just as voracious, yes.
But like, it's just harder to do.
Yeah, I totally get that. Makes sense too.
But they're really cool. They have like these weird, I guess shark mouths is how I describe them, but with teeth that are more needle-like.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the coolest features of them is they have these little spines on their back that shoot out like darts, like paralysis darts.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was just such a little creative thing.
No, it makes them more dangerous,
Not only because it makes them more dangerous, and I think like plot-wise, it was a good way to get certain characters out of the main stage
Mhm.
without killing them. But I thought it was like kind of a cool effect that makes them seem more alien.
Yeah.
Like it's not uncommon to see an alien have some type of stinger. So the dart thing was really cool.
the thing that the stinger, at least, like, in a lot of what the critters do that makes this film work is the critters are treated. I was expecting them to be treated like gremlins and for them to just be like
Kind of
little
smart
monsters.
animals.
Smart animalistic things, but this is a fully developed race of creatures with their own language, and they like talk to each other.
Yeah, it's a weird mix. I believe the voice actor once said it was like a mix between Spanish and something else. Not Spanish, French.
Oh, that's cool. But the thing is, like, giving them that extra layer and making them feel like they have like tactics and are smart makes this movie so much more horrific and terrifying in so many ways.
Yeah, it's kind of like that next evolution of what the Gremlins do, which is kind of just dicking around, which is wild to see sometimes because you're like, oh yeah, they just flew a spaceship across the galaxy.
Yeah.
Or, oh, they can use windows.
Yep. And tools.
And tools. But that's super cool. And then obviously, last thing, they roll up into balls and they kind of roll around.
They do. Yeah.
Assumedly, it's like a bowling ball they covered in fur.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool.
It is cool.
I like it.
I like them.
Cool, cheap way to have your creatures move on screen without having them run awkwardly.
They do run awkwardly sometimes, but it still looks cool.
Well, yeah, they're like funny little puppet guys.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good transition to like the effects for this film, which I think are amazing.
They're pretty fucking solid
for the budget they had. I mean, $2 million is a lot, especially for the 80s. But this film,
$2 million with what they did is crazy.
This film feels like it was more expensive than it ended up being.
I'm just putting it up there. I don't know how much of that last sequence was real, the last like scene, but that must have been so expensive, even if it wasn't real.
All that was practical.
Yeah, see, that's crazy. That they spent their budget well.
They spent it really well, and I just want to give another shout out to the Kyoto brothers, who I think really put in the effort to make this film as good looking as it could be. I don't think they did the visual effects, but there's some like spaceship stuff.
Yeah, the spaceship stuff is cool.
That is really cool. They might have, but I know them more for like practical effects, like puppetry and stuff. And the critters look great.
They're good.
Like for a film that wasn't using stop motion like Gremlins does, they look insanely expressive.
Yeah, because they're just puppets.
Because they're puppets, and it's so cool to see that be done really well. Because like Gremlins, really impressive because they're animatronics for the most part.
Yeah,
and you know, of course that's going to be impressive. But yeah, the puppetry is great.
I mean, they're just so skilled at placing themselves just out of frame with a hand puppet, or using like the environment to their advantage and having critters appear up behind stuff and do funny things. And it's the exact opposite problem that Ghoulies has, where like the fact that they're puppets was a bad thing. Like they just couldn't do enough because they were puppets. But in this situation, they got people skilled enough with puppets that they took it as far as they could, and it did a lot.
Yeah, and they do some fairly impressive movements. I mean,
yeah.
First of all, some of the puppets are well designed. Like they have glowing red eyes. They put like the paint that I think's on stop signs in their eyes so they reflect in the light. But at least one of the puppets had like moving eyes, which was really cool. But they're also like mobile enough to pick stuff up and put it in their mouth, which I thought was just a nice little thing.
Fucking rad.
Then, you know, they combined all that with some makeup effects, some fire effects.
Yeah.
And my favorite, explosion effects.
This movie has too many explosions for the type of movie it is.
Let's put this out there. We said it a couple times while we were watching the movie. Brad, so Scott Grimes, I believe.
Yeah.
The actor, his character, it's like what, 12, 10?
It's like 13 or something.
He is straight up a domestic terrorist.
Okay, maybe we shouldn't say that exactly.
Look,
he has a lot of explosives for a 13-year-old.
He's not causing terror.
No, but he could cause terror.
But he is like a little pyromaniac. He is just making bombs in his bedroom. And
calling them firecrackers.
He calls them firecrackers.
Much larger than any firecracker should be.
The smallest one was at least an M80. At least. But yeah, lots of wild characters like that in this movie. Brad really feels like the epitome of like an 80s movie kid.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
The movie's set up as like, okay, Brad's going to solve the day and do everything, which is how 80s kids movies are set up. But like the rest of the characters are really interesting. There's Charlie, who's the town drunk.
Yeah.
And
works for for Brad's dad.
He's also like the weird conspiracy guy. He's very funny, even though we don't get a lot of him.
I wanted more Charlie in the film.
I guess, but I thought it was a good balance.
Yeah.
Where it was right now. Especially because, you know, I already mentioned the bounty hunters are shapeshifters. For like half the film, one of the bounty hunters looks like Charlie. And besides being a funny like joke about, oh, Charlie just shot up this place. We did get to see more of the actor acting. The dad's like a stern like farm dad.
Yeah.
The mom's like a very kind, caring mom who cannot handle stress.
Yeah.
And then Brad's sister April's just really horny.
That's true. She is really horny.
But yeah, lots of characters that I just thought were wild.
I mean, I think what makes the critter aspect of this movie so good and like makes it so impressive is it's carried off the backs of the family dynamic that we get. Like, I think the family dynamic in this is super duper duper strong and makes all of the critter nonsense feel a lot more realistic and scary.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned this to you during the movie, but it honestly kind of feels like there was two very different, like, tonally speaking movies going on.
There were, which I thought was cool.
There was a sci-fi one that was, like, kind of goofy about
These two bounty hunters.
Ugg, and then the other one, I forget his name.
Did they say their names?
No, I don't believe so. But, like, the two bounty hunters, like, going around Earth, not knowing how to behave like humans, randomly shapeshifting and just blowing shit up. And that's very funny. And then the family side is like this really, really tightly written and like suspenseful, I don't know, home invasion creature feature film.
Yeah.
That I thought was excellently executed.
No, it's really great.
It really reminds me of like some of those 1950s like invasion films.
Mm-hmm. Like Them or something like that?
Like more like alien invasion films, like
okay.
really classic ones. But yeah, kind of like 50s monster movies because it's like very slow and it's like, oh, there's a spaceship that crash landed in our farm field.
What are we going to do?
What are we going to do? I don't know. It was cool because like the whole film felt to me like a reference to classic cinema of like the 60s and stuff. Star Wars, 50s monster movies. I thought that was a cool carryover, but yeah, you're right. Like this film is really carried by the human stuff.
Because I'll be honest, I like the way the critters look, but they're not scary in and of themselves if there's not enough like fear built in by real people.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll be honest, they're kind of cute if they're not like trying to eat you.
They're cute in like a rabid dog kind of way.
Yeah. Nope, I think I completely agree with you in the fact that like this is two very different stories happening at the same time that are vaguely related because they're around the same area. But I think the best part is like watching them both unfold at the same time and then seeing them come together at the end of the movie is so entertaining.
Oh yeah, because
it's so funny.
It's just like, okay, now what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, like what? There are two. First of all, there are two Charlies on my screen. What's happening? Second of all, this guy doesn't know how to drive in forward. He's driving in reverse the whole time. There's something about watching these two worlds essentially collide that is so entertaining and fun. And I really like the last, like, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, because I will say the first, I don't know, hour of this film is very slow.
But I also like that.
I do like it. It's where they build all the tension and stuff. But I do think that would be one of the main complaints from most people.
See, I don't know. I think it's worth it.
Like, objectively, I can get why this movie doesn't work for some people. Like, the first half is very slow. Mm-hmm. The second half is fairly action-packed and goofy. So it feels like there's a really quick turnaround on, like, tone from, like, really suspenseful for the first, like, hour and then goofy for the last 20 minutes. But also, like, the big thing with tone I'll mention here that's a little weird. I love it because I like films like this. But this is a horror comedy, kind of in the same realm as, like, Ghostbusters, which I'm mentioning because there was, like, a pinbuster team or something. I don't know. Bowlers.
Yeah.
It was the logo on some shirts. Anyways, it's like a horror comedy like Ghostbusters or Gremlins, which is fine. But sometimes it does some like stuff that's really, really goofy and lighthearted.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it'll do something like having the critters like tear someone apart, and it's very graphic.
It's horrific.
And so I do want to say, I think the tone's kind of all over the place. And it gives the movie a unique feel, and I like it. I mean, I like horror comedies and stuff like this, but I can get how that would be challenging for some people.
I mean, I would put it in the same boat as something like Tucker and Dale, where like it's the premise in and of itself is sort of ridiculous and funny and lighthearted, but watching it actually happen is awful.
Yeah, but it is less of a spoof than Tucker and Dale.
It is less of a spoof than
And again, I think that could be an issue for some people because it's like a movie written straight, but it's just like weird and goofy in a way that sometimes doesn't match the content. But there is some really funny jokes.
Oh, there are some incredible jokes.
I think my favorite one is it's a very, very simple caption joke. Because the Christ talk.
So funny.
And only every once in a while do we actually understand what they're saying. And there's one that's just so great. It's such a funny little bit.
It made me lose my mind. I mean, I think one of my favorites is when one of the Krites finds like an ET plushie and starts messing with it and like rips its head off. Like that shit is so funny.
Well, he's like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, the ET plushie does not respond. But like small stuff like that, where it's like we see the critters acting like aliens on an alien planet and just interacting with shit weird. It's really funny.
It's really cool.
Something else we haven't talked about. I don't know how much of a spoiler this is, but let's just say as the critters eat stuff, something happens. Didn't know about that. Super cool. Makes the end of this movie so interesting.
I'll mention it.
I didn't want to know if we wanted to spoil it or not.
Normally I wouldn't, but there's a reason I'll mention it. So one of the critters, very explicitly, it's one of them, keeps getting bigger.
Yeah.
That never comes up again.
What?
As far as I'm aware. Yeah.
Critters getting bigger as they eat is awesome, though.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of an abandoned plot line because, like, I think they were having some issues with the effects because they had to make, like, a whole critter suit.
Yeah.
But yeah, from my understanding, they stick with the small critters for the rest of the franchise, which I do prefer. But it was kind of cool to see something different.
I think it's cool in a one-off movie if there's no franchise here.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know, just seeing the big critter, like, walking around doing stuff was so fucking cool. I'm just a fan of the change. I don't know.
No, that's fair.
Fun.
It's a different thing, especially after we watched multiple small creature films.
Yeah, for sure.
Another thing worth mentioning, the soundtrack in this movie is fine.
It's fine.
But they have this one song that was written explicitly for the movie. And they keep repeating it over and over again, really getting their money's worth. And I thought that was just really fun. I love when movies do stupid stuff like that. I think it was written by the actor who, like, plays the musician.
Oh, that's really cool.
But, yeah, you got anything else to talk about for this?
Yeah, I think the only thing I would want to mention here now, and we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but, like, the coolest part about watching the bounty hunter scenes is it gives us a broader view of the town that the family lives in and like the greater area. Like I enjoy watching them terrorize the town folks so much. Like going into town and blowing stuff up. Like it's like they took the element of Gremlins where the Gremlins are wrecking the town and made the bounty hunters do it and let the critters focus on terrorizing the family. And I think that is such a smart split because it makes both of them stronger in certain ways. Because you're not looking at like critters doing both. It is a separate thing.
That's a fair point. I also think it did a really nice thing of letting us see the town with actual people being terrorized.
Yeah.
Which Gremlins, I don't think does
that well.
Good a job of doing. Because the Gremlins are like actually deadly.
Yeah.
And they can't show all the townspeople dying. So I thought this was a nice little compromise there. Because the bounty hunters don't want to kill people.
No, they're here for the critters. They just want to know where they are.
They just want to kill Krites.
Yeah. Which, fair enough. They deserve it, I think.
Well, they're getting paid.
Yeah, fair. I think that was my last thing.
All right. Then I guess we'll go to recommendations if you want to go first.
If you've not seen this and you like Gremlins or into small creature features, this is a great one. I don't want to say it yet because I haven't made up my mind. This might be my favorite one so far.
Of the small creatures?
Yeah, man. I think this movie's really, really fun.
That's fair. I kind of came into this season knowing which one you were going to like best.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm predictable. If you like any of the actors associated with it, I think most of the actors, if not all, do a really good job. I think it's pretty well acted for the type of film that this is. I think that's fun. If you want a sci-fi movie about like a creature feature sci-fi film, this movie is so deeply sci-fi. We have vaguely talked about it, but there's like scenes in space. They go to a like space prison. All the spaceship stuff, laser guns, explosions, the whole 9 yards. I think it's a very, very good sci-fi movie. I think that's it.
All right. I'll try to hit some different things then. If you want kind of a bit of like a home invasion film.
Oh, that's fair.
That's kind of what this feels like. You know, creature feature home invasion thing. I think it's a good example of that genre. If you want a horror comedy, I think this is a decent watch for that reason. Not in the same realm as something like Tucker and Dale, which is explicitly supposed to be a horror comedy, but this one's like a goofy film. I think in part because it is PG-13, so it's made for not necessarily like an old audience. But
I kept saying this during the movie. This movie should not be PG-13.
Should have been PG, but damn Gremlins had to ruin it.
No, it should not be. It should be R. Like, they don't show anything like...
They don't show enough to get an R rating, but
but he's close.
But it is 80s PG-13, which is a little bit more than today.
Like, we watched some people get annihilated.
If you like any of the actors in this film, Scott Grimes, I think he does a great job. Like Bob said, all the actors give decent performances. Last but not least, because I think it's kind of funny, if you want a film that's good at counting,
Oh, so true.
this film's good at counting. Lots of movies don't keep up with continuity stuff when it comes to like counting bullets
Or counting things.
or
in
counting
general.
like creatures and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
this one does, which is kind of fun to see.
Yeah, they set you up. They go, there's 8 of these little bastards. And you go, I'm going to count. I did. I counted every single time. I said, how many are dead? How many do we have?
It worked out.
They never broke the rule.
So kind of tight writing there. Worth mentioning.
Tight writing, but also just like, you don't need it to be good. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't need to be there. It's unexpected but helpful.
Yeah. And then I'll just bring this up. If you want to watch the franchise, this is the first movie, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I think I personally prefer the second movie better.
Okay. Is that Critters Go to Space?
No, it's just Critters 2.
Oh, okay.
I believe it's Critters 2 The Main Course is the full title.
Ew.
But they really kind of figured out what they wanted tonally, and they lean
Mhm.
into it more heavily. And I think that's a really good film. But it's very different from this one, and I think they make a good back-to-back. So if you're planning on watching the series, I think this one and the second one make a really good watch. That being said, you want to rate it?
Sure. I don't know what to do with this one. Because I think...
It's definitely not a 5.
No. So, yeah, that's my...
Whenever you
thing.
say I don't know what to do, I'm like, right off the bat.
I get... And I think you're right. I get why some people don't like this movie. Or would prefer other small creature features.
Oh, yeah, I think the 50% makes perfect sense, because I bet you there's some people that really love this movie, and then others that hate it, and
Yeah.
it is just equaled out right in the
Equal
middle.
amounts, yeah. I'm on the side of I really like this movie, which makes me want to give it a very high score. But I could see where people have problems. I get it. Like, it's not high art cinema masterpiece, but it is fun, entertaining, and at least passable in a lot of its aspects, if not good. So I think I'm going to give it a 4.
That's fair.
I think that's where I'll put it.
That is exactly the rating I was going to give it. For very similar reasons. I mean, I like this movie, so that obviously skews some of this some way, because I think I'm in that target audience of people who like creature features
Same.
and like horror comedies and stuff. But the big reason I'm going to give it a 4, rather than my preferences, is the simple fact that this movie does a lot with a very simple concept and like not necessarily the biggest budget.
Mm-hmm.
And while it's not the most impressive film ever, I think it does a great job with the resources it has.
Same.
It's very impressive for what it is, and I think that alone deserves like an extra point. So 4.
Yeah. Man, good movie.
Yeah, pretty good. In either case, I guess we're gonna go to the outtakes.
Yeah.
I don't know what we'll keep. Most of
Oh.
it was just Bob kind of going like, "Oh my god, there's blood in this movie," or
Well-
just laughing.
Yeah,
And,
because it was unexpected. It's PG-13, Ben.
I'm not sure if it'll be kept in, so
Well, it better be fucking kept in.
we'll see you in a second. You make that decision. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna keep it in.
All right. Well, we'll be back in a sec.
Yeah, we'll be back in a minute. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the outtake section for this episode of Beware the Board. I hope you're enjoying our review of Critters so far. I really like this movie. I think it's super duper fun and really, really cool. But without further ado, let's get into the outtakes. This first clip is our reaction to Amy's boyfriend getting attacked by the critters and me realizing that this movie should not be PG-13. You'll get what?
The tapes run out of stuff. That's why it's making that noise.
Oh, his finger's just gone. Oh my god. Steve is just being brutalized by critters, dog. This is not PG-13, bro.
It is.
You can keep telling me it is all you fucking
They
want.
didn't show them having sex, so it's obviously PG-13.
This next clip is our reaction to probably the funniest joke in the entire film. I love how they're going to get into this house and immediately just fucking die. Or like one of them's going to come crashing through the windows or something.
The giant glass windows.
Yeah. Or they're just going to get through the door now. Oh! This is PG-13? That was where their fuck went?
It's such a great joke.
That's awesome!
From my understanding, it wasn't in the original movie. One of the guys slipped that one line in there, and then they were like, all right, you could keep the subtitles.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the outtakes. Do we have any announcements, Ben?
Next week, we are doing the final movie episode of this season,
So true.
which I'm really excited for. And then, obviously, the following week, we're going to announce our categories for next season.
Oh, I'm so excited
Which
for that one.
I've had mine picked out since, like, the first episode.
Yeah.
Heck, I have my category picked out for the following season,
God bless.
unless I change it. I assume you find the pictures out.
Yeah.
All right. Aside from that, though, we're still working on holiday stuff, so believe we're about to record Thanksgiving after this, but that'll come out
On Thanksgiving.
on Thanksgiving, so I believe that's going to be next week, something like that.
Next week. Oh, well, yeah. As of hearing this audience next week.
Yeah. And then we're also, doing a Christmas movie
Mhm.
next month and a New Year's movie the end of the month. Outside of that, we're also working on The Evil Dead. I think we're going to start recording those fairly soon.
Hopefully.
So those will come out when we're done. So probably in January, if everything goes according to plan. Maybe February. Depends. Trying to be hopeful on that note.
Trying to be hopeful is a stretch because we have movies recorded from over 2 years ago that we have not released.
Yeah, but we keep pushing those off. We're not pushing this off.
Well, you
And-
say that now.
We only have 3 movies to do, so it's
We only
it's
had
not
3
too bad.
last time.
Technically, we only have 1.5.
We're not keeping the half. I'm not doing that. We're going to re-record that.
In either case, usual spiel here. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you're looking us up on any podcast specific platform, please give us a quick rating or review. That really helps us out with getting seen by other people on those platforms. You could also recommend us to a friend. We're kind of cool dudes, I guess. We appreciate it if you check us out.
We do appreciate the support.
Otherwise, you can go over to YouTube, which, while not the best for audio-only content, is kind of nice for us since it's probably the easiest way to see, engagement with you guys and our content. Likes, subscriptions, stuff like that is pretty easy to judge versus our RSS feed that just gives us downloads, which are weird
It is weird.
because it's, I think, specifically downloads and not
It is
streams.
specifically downloads and not streams.
In either case, YouTube does have a couple cool tools you might appreciate. There's a bell button, which lets you get notified whenever we post something new in case we're posting something out of our usual Friday schedule. My birthday episode, I guess at this point, a couple days ago? And then,
yeah, I think so.
Stuff that's coming up, Thanksgiving, stuff like that. But there's also a search button, which lets you search key terms in all our movies. So if you're looking for a movie title, it's probably the easiest way to see if we've covered something because we're in the 170s still, but a lot of movies.
A lot of movies.
Especially for 2 years of doing the podcast. We've covered a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing with YouTube is it's one of the 2 major places to communicate with us at. You can do that in the comment section of a specific video if there's something you want to talk to us about in that episode. Or you can go over to Twitter, @BewareTheBoard, and go chat up Bob. Maybe go looking for some krites on his page.
Hopefully
if you
there
find any.
Krites.
Worst case scenario, maybe you can dress up as Bob. Maybe steal his face.
No, don't steal my face. I need that. Well, actually, I don't need it. Well, okay, I do need it, so don't steal my face. Like Ben said, check us out on Twitter, @BewareTheBoard. It's where we post updates about the show, information about the show. Basically, if there's anything you know about the show, it goes on our Twitter. On Mondays, I post a spoiler post for that week's worth of episodes, which is a hidden movie cover you can reveal, so you can watch the film before we do. So whenever you listen to episodes, you don't get any spoilers, and when we vague about stuff, you know what we're talking about. Then on Friday, or whatever other day an episode goes live, I always post a link to the episode on our Twitter. So if you ever missed an upload, or want to know when something went up, there's always a link there. Last thing, we do short form content over on @BewareTheBoard on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts. So if you like short form content and want to support the show, check us out over there, @BewareTheBoard on YouTube and on YouTube Shorts.
I don't think there's been anything new for a while.
No.
Pretty sure. Also, because the saga continues, Bob, you have yet to post those
shit.
things.
You know what's crazy? I actually went to do it yesterday. Halfway through it, I got distracted.
Do you want to do it right after this episode?
Do I want to?
Are you gonna do it right after this episode?
No, because we gotta record another one.
We could take a 5-minute break. It would
No.
take 3 minutes.
No, it would take longer than that.
Really?
Yeah, because I have to find that wall of text you sent me to describe how to format the meme.
No, I can just send them to you again. Just post them, honestly. At this point, just post them. They're old.
You're old.
You're wondering, they're killer condom memes I made
Yep.
when that episode came out.
It's been
7 weeks ago? 8 weeks ago?
No
Yeah.
way it's been that long, dog.
That was our first episode of the season, right?
No. Was it?
I believe so.
We opened with killer condoms?
I thought we did.
That's crazy.
Maybe I'm wrong, but it was definitely like right at the beginning. So it has been at least a month. But yeah, I guess come back next week for
The last movie this season.
last movie of the season.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe Bob will have posted stuff by then.
see you guys next time.
See ya.